Day 30. Story time again. How about story time number 2? So, after I was destroyed by the woman I was with when I was 21, I remained single for, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years. I dated a bit, but nothing really substantial. And then I met the woman who would become my ex-wife. Now, in regard to our relationship, it's funny how, depending on your age, you're going to get different results with people. It is my belief that my ex-wife also is an extreme narcissist who took advantage of my giving personality. And as I've tried to indicate before, I believe narcissism is on a spectrum, meaning that some people are more narcissistic than others. But she had the classic recipe to be a narcissist. When she was young, her mother had left when she was like 3. She's raised by her father, who's an alcoholic. She left, she largely had to fend herself, where her father had a assembly line of women come in and out of the house. He married a couple times, and she would have been devalued. And ultimately, she left home when she was about 16, and had a teenage pregnancy, and then moved on from that. Now, that being said, so those are the seeds of narcissism, because, if a child's not nurtured properly, they're going to get screwed up in the head from the standpoint they're not going to feel like they're very valuable. So in the case of my ex-wife, I believe that very much to be the case. But what I'm saying about age is that when I got with her, I was in my mid to late 20s. Women have a different ideal, meaning that, if they have aspirations to have children, have the home, all kind of stuff, a lot of their personal selfishness tendencies will take a back seat because they're willing to forego that as a means towards getting the prize. So we got together. I met her at a copy shop, not a coffee shop, a copy shop. She was getting some iron-on transfers done for a quilt she was getting made for a friend's wedding quilt. And excuse me while I yawn. Oh, it's early. But anyway, and I was in the graphics business, so I gave her my card, and because I had some expertise in that area, I heard that she was talking to the guy and wasn't sure what to do. Lo and behold, she called me up, and the day later, we were having coffee. One thing led to another, and we were in a relationship pretty quick. Now, what I did not realize at the time is that the guy she was living with had just moved out. So it just goes to show you, these women, narcissistic women, they're ready to go. Like, they don't want to be alone. They don't want to have any lag time. They just move to the next dude. Which, I mean, on one hand, I can understand it. I mean, as a man, when a woman leaves me, I'd like some comfort. But on the flip side, it's almost empty because it's not real. You figure they'd realize that, but they don't. They just, if a man's paying attention to them, that's enough for them. So anyway, I got with her pretty right quick. Practically was staying at her house. She lived at a little house in north of my town. And she was a nurse. I was very pleased with her. One thing I do appreciate in my partners is I try and find areas to be proud of them. And one thing I was proud of her is that, despite her adverse background, she had become a nurse, was working as a home visiting nurse, had a little home, and was moving forward with that. So I was pleased that she had progressed. So we dated for about a year, and the relationship was pretty good. She was very accommodating, loving. The sex was okay. It wasn't unbelievable. It was okay. but she was a woman who paid a lot of attention to me, and as I've come to learn because of my other relationships, I'm a sucker. When a woman, gives herself to me in that love bombing stage, I'm in hook, line, and sinker. Especially they're attractive, which has been sort of the order of the day with all of my relationships. It's a drag. I'm gonna have to consult my sons on this thing, understand what's going on. In any case, we uh, she had to move out of her house because she couldn't afford it on her own. Ended up getting a little apartment, a townhouse type thing. Our relationship progressed for about a year. I proposed to her after about a year. We got married shortly thereafter. I think I proposed in the spring and we got married in the fall. Um, and everything was pretty okay. I mean, a few hiccups here and there, but we had a pretty solid relationship. We sort of had a plan, and she was right on board with, getting a house, having children, etc., etc. She had her teenage daughter. That was her teenage pregnancy, which was there, who was there, and I looked after her. I mean, she's a bit of a smart mouth, but I looked after her. So we had children, etc., etc., and I also, I had a couple different businesses at the time. But as time progressed, after having the children, etc., etc., I'm always about making things better, and so I had encouraged her to get a professional accreditation, which was going to be the educational window was based on her credentials was going to be closing. So if she was able to do it, and when I had suggested it, it would have been more beneficial to her. And I put up the money, and she did that. And also in that, of course, we had our children, we had our busy life. Then she got this accreditation, and then she wanted some cosmetic surgery. Boy, oh boy, I wish I'd seen that freaking shit coming. So after she had her children, she needed to get her body rejiggered up, and that should have told me that time was running out for me right quick. So like a simp, I paid for it. I didn't really like it. I mean, I appreciated her more weathered or more generous female form before she had the surgery, but it is what it is. And then we had our kids. She just basically went into a program of shutting down. Sex was non-existent. Everything I did was terrible. To the point that I felt like I was living in a desert. She didn't, however, have the balls to say it's over. She just basically made me live like a beggar. Until finally I couldn't take it anymore, and I had to go. But me going, well, that wasn't going to be good enough because she wanted to make sure that I suffered. So after I left, shortly thereafter, she played the card that many women can play. And I will discuss that soon because it ties into my relationship after the fact, after this relationship. But essentially, just, as the relationship fell apart, I look back at it and I could see its decline. As narcissists go through three phases in a relationship. There's the idealization and the love bombing phase where they, you can do no wrong, you're perfect, everything's wonderful. Then there's devaluation where they slowly pick apart who you are, what you are, how you are. And it goes in a cycle. One day they think you're great, next day they think you're terrible. One day they think you're great, next day they think you're terrible. Until finally get to the point where they determine that they don't need you because either they've got somebody new lined up, they've got a situation where they just have decided they don't need you. But typically it is going to be they've got somebody new lined up. And that's narcissism, but it's also female nature because women typically do what's called monkey branching, whereby they'll have a guy lined up before they get rid of the other guy. And that was the case when I met my ex-wife. As I told you, she had just gotten rid of her her man had just left, and so clearly he had discarded her, and she was desperate. And that's why she called me up, and it was so quick. And yeah, it's just a riot. I sit back and think about it. I am so going to be consulting my sons on what to look for with women because I've been such a fool over my life, not recognizing these signs and recognizing that I've been playing with dynamite the whole time. That being said, I love my sons. My sons are a product of that marriage, and I wouldn't change anything because of their existence for all the tea in China. Um, if that is the cost, that is the cost of having my sons. I would pay that price 1,000-fold. But now that my sons are at the precipice of beginning their life, they're going to be able to look and see what's going on. And they're going to be able to move in a more healthy way. Hopefully by my direction. So once again, if you take anything away from this, if you're going through what I'm going through with my no contact phase, because guys, to be blunt, my current girl, absolutely. Idealization, devaluation, discard. It's terrible. But on the flip side, we never really had a bad day. And what I mean by that is that we always got along really, really well. Whereas I contrast this with my ex-wife, there were quite a few knockdown, drag-out conflicts that I didn't have with the current girl, which this project is all about. Is she a narcissist, my current girl? Likely. As to how deep a narcissist she is, that's up for debate. Because again, I never really experienced the devilish side of her. Because narcissists sort of have a mask they wear. But as I've illustrated to you before, I believe all women have a level of narcissism in them, as is it's installed in them because of their evolutionary path. You know, a woman who's in scarcity in her youth. This is narcissism, a coping mechanism. And in recent history, in this time in the world we live, there's a lot of women who have not had good quality upbringings because of the shit show their parents go through. If I can make any recommendation to you guys out there, find a woman who has got good quality parents who stay together, but were good quality. Because even my girl, she had parents who stayed together, but they were not good quality people. Remember, her father was a low-functioning asshole, and her mother was a codependent who basically catered to him her whole life. And yeah, it's a drag. But I do believe we have the power to make our own reality. And as I'm still pushing forward with my law of attraction exercises. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the story concerning my ex-wife. Bear that in mind. Internalize that, and be ever vigilant, gentlemen. Be ever vigilant, because if I said earlier that if I could have had a choice about whether to have this pain or not, I still would have entered a relationship with my girl, but I think I would have entered it in a lot different way. I would have maintained my frame better. I would have kept my power better, because a woman will keep you, and this goes back to the other videos I was showing you, like, don't tell them you love them, don't, be like a rock. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, your relationship will be maintained when a woman feels like you have more value than she does. That's the bottom line. There is no place for lovey-dovey, squeezy, kissy, huggy, facey stuff if you want a relationship to last. You can do that with a woman if you want, but rest assured, it will not last. It is going to fall apart. Anyway, that's today's installment, day 30 Not much to say. I'm fairly certain I won't be hearing from her for a bit yet. Who knows? But ultimately, I have no idea, right? Thanks, guys.